Yo, 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 Duncan Dave here. Day 12 of the Take It Easy tour.
Take it easy.
And as you can see, it started raining. I was camping out last night. It started raining at about 12:30. Just a light sprinkle at first, and then it got worse and worse. I finally had to pick up camp because I had to leave at about 7 o'clock in the morning. Made my way to a Dunkin' Donuts to do my YouTube vlog, and it started really coming down. The good thing about the Dunkin' Donuts was it's National Donut Day. I didn't know that. So I got a free donut with my coffee and whatever else it was that I had. And then since it was still raining, I went across the street from the Dunkin' Donuts. They had a laundromat there. So I got my laundry done. I didn't have much, just a couple of items to do, but there are two nice little old ladies over there, and I didn't have any detergent, so they gave me some detergent. Half the day is gone because of the rain, and I've had to really struggle with the go, 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 and learn to settle down a little bit. And look at the bay here. But I really had to struggle with myself to settle down a little bit and not just be go, go, go all the time. And so it was good. I just sat in there and did my laundry and waited for the rain to end, and then it's finally gone. So now I'm able to get back on the road, and hopefully it'll be a better day. Had one guy come up to me. He was a motorcyclist. He's got a couple of bikes. He gave me his card, and in case he said, if you ever have any problems, give me a call. If you're local, I'll help you out. So that was really cool of him. And a couple other guys walked up and just wanted to chat and find out what was going on with the bike and everything. So that was really cool of them. So all right, so I'm on to my next spot. All right, so on the advice of a friend, I'm at the Mystic Seaport Musuem, and apparently there's a bunch of boats here to look at and some exhibitions and things like that. And you can already see there's a boat right there and a boat right there, and there's some authentic transport little skiffs or whatever right there that are period correct. And I'm gonna look funny because I'm wearing a helmet. And everybody's gonna be like, what are you doing? I'm wearing a helmet while I'm filming. So pretty cool. I'm gonna walk around and check it out. All right, this is the oyster house, and this will be an example of an oyster boat right here. This is period correct for something that they might have used in the Chesapeake Bay or along the local rivers around here. It's just an oyster boat. I mean, it's a sailboat, and I suppose they have a motor in there too. They might have a motor in there, probably not, but this is just an example of some of the boats that they would have used to haul oysters and everything. If you're ever wondering where your oysters come from, this is where they come from. The guys go out to the oyster beds and they rake them up. There's a rake right there, and there's a rake right there, and another couple of types of rakes right there. But that's what they would do. They'd go out there to the oyster beds, and they use these long poles on these rakes here, and they actually just rake them, and they get them and they pull them up, and then they dump them on the boat. And they still do that way today. That's how you get your oysters. Yummy oysters. I like mine fried or steamed. Steamed is good too. So that's where oysters come from. Here's a bunch of lobster traps right here, and they are period correct, and they're still used today out there in the Great North. And I had a nice lobster roll yesterday. That was good. It was pretty expensive, but it was good. So yeah, here's the lobster traps, and here's, I guess this is how they make them right here. They would house them in here or something. I don't know what that is right there, but it's a way of making them or working on them or something like that. And there's a modern lobster trap right there, right down there, made of steel instead of wood. So pretty interesting. I mean, it's all period correct. And there's some more of the authentic boats out there. Those are cool. Those are really, really cool. It takes a great craftsman to make a boat like that. That's cool. If you remember yesterday, I talked about the Coast Guard being a life-saving service, and here's an example of their boats right here. This says a U.S. life-saving service down here on the bottom of the trailer here. And when they would find somebody in need, they would go out and rescue them. And here's a winch that they would use to kind of haul people back if they needed to. And there's another capsule right there. It looks like a torpedo or a submarine, but it's really, they would use that and they would put people in there and then they would haul them back so they wouldn't freeze to death or drown. So here's an example of their boat right here. This is what they would use to go out and rescue people. Isn't that cool? And right here you have a cannon right here. The cannon would fire these torpedo things here, and a rope, a little tiny rope, would be attached to it, and then attached to the little tiny rope would be a big rope, and they would just pull the little rope until they got to the big rope, and then they would attach the big rope to that thing over there, and then they would haul them back. So that's pretty cool. That's how they did it back then. Pretty neat. All right, next. Well, if you ever wonder about how somebody might work on a small boat, this is an example of it right here. This is a real workshop where the guy's sitting here working on these little boats and getting them shipshape, getting them all refurbished and everything. You can see where the guy here, he's got masking tape on some of the runners there, and they're on the bottom. He's painting the bottom with anti-fouling paint so that barnacles and stuff don't get on there. And then that boat over there, he's refinishing the top. You can see how it's all discolored and everything. He's refinishing that, and he'll be putting on either an epoxy paint or a varnish or something like that on there. But this is a working shop right here. Pretty cool. You can see he built a model over there. That's cool. He's got all kinds of tools and jigs and workbench and sanders and shapers and all kinds of stuff in here so that he can work on them. That's pretty cool. Kind of reminds you of a motorcycle shop. If you had a motorcycle, you'd have all kinds of tools like that too. All right. We're here in a small boat gallery, and all these are called cat boats right here, and they were used for all different kinds of uses. They were used for fishing, they were used for ferrying people, they were used for lobstering, they were used for all kinds of things, and they were even used as a cabin. And I'm sitting here looking at this thing, and I'm putting my hand over this. There are no gaps between this. This is all filled with a varnish or polyurethane right here. It's totally smooth. And look at the detail work on this boat. It is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful boat. The Antra or something like that. So beautiful boats right here, and they got them all on display. Look at that. He's even got a little wheel there. He can have it between his legs. He sits down, he's got it between his legs. That's pretty cool. And usually they had a centerboard, and then this is a different kind of boat right here. This is the Fiddler. The Fiddler is a Buzzards Bay 15 designed by somebody in 1899. Old boat, man. Old boat. It's built in 1901 and 1902. That's a freaking old boat. That is cool, though. Look at the lines of it, how it comes down. I bet that thing's fast. It's almost a planing hull as opposed to a displacement hull. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Here's another one right here. Hope I don't fall and bust my ass. Man, look at the detail work on this, and it's beautiful. Look at the varnish on there. It's just beautiful. Masts look good. Wow, that is some beautiful work right there. And all these things were made by hand. I mean, it's not fiberglass. It's all wood. It's all made of wood. That is cool. Cool. Really cool. All right, next. This right here is an example of the last wooden whaling ship in existence. And we're gonna go over there and take a little tour on it. As you can see, it's a tall ship. It's a tall mast. And I was talking to another guy. They spent about $10 million refurbishing this boat a couple of years ago. It's the Charles Morgan, the last wooden whaling boat in existence. So we'll check it out. But I just had about a 20-minute speech given by that dude talking about the boat here. And the boat here was used for about 100 years to go all across the world to harvest, kill and harvest whales. What we have right here, this is one of the this is the boiling area here, where they would take the blubber and they would boil it down and they would get the oil out of that, kind of like how you make bacon. How you cook bacon, you know how you got your crackling and then you got your oil that's left over. Well, that's how they did it. They would take the blubber off of the whale and they would put it in there and they would boil it down and they'd get the oil from it. And then that block and tackle right there, it's got a hook on it right there. They would have the whale over here to the side, and they would remove that door right there, and then they would bring pieces of the whale up, and using that thing there, and then they would cut it up and then put it into the area here to cook down, and then they would store the oil underneath down below and everything. And they would use these boats right here to go out there and kill the whale. They'd have somebody, a harpooner, up at the front, and then they had the other guys using oars. They'd row out there and find the whale and then kill it, nail it with a harpoon, and then that would die. It would just basically bleed to death. So you know, this thing, it was used for about 100 years, and they killed like 90 whales or so every time they went out, and they went out every 3 years or something like that. So it lasted about 3 years. So this is the last one left. And you know, it's a horrible thing, but in the early industrial revolution, we didn't know about petroleum. I mean, nobody really knew about it back then. So they would use whale oil to lubricate things. And as a matter of fact, the guy said that up until 1970, the United States was harvesting whales for margarine and crayons and lubricants, transmission fluid and stuff like that. So it was very useful up until about 1970. So good for the United States for not killing any more whales. All right, guys, here's a real surprise here. This is the Viking ship Dracon Harald Harford, and this is a real authentic reproduction Viking ship that was built in Norway, and they sailed it over this way to be ported here, and there's an exhibition of other Viking things here in another building. But this is the exact type of a boat that the Vikings would have used way back when. And the Vikings, man, they traveled everywhere. They went all through Russia. They went all the way down through the Mediterranean and over there to the Mideast. And they traveled to the New World. They traveled to Iceland. They traveled to Greenland. They traveled to Newfoundland. And it would be a boat just like this, and they would have built it. If you notice, the boat is pretty wide and shallow. It's only got about a 2 or 3 foot draft, which means it sits down in the water only about 2 or 3 feet because it's so wide on the bottom. And they got rocks down in the bottom there as the ballast, so it doesn't tip over. But it only had one mast, and then it had the crossbar right there to raise up the sail. And man, what a piece of work right here. But they built this in like 2011, and then they sailed it. They sailed this boat all the way across the ocean, just to prove the point that they could do it, I guess. But look at it, it's period authentic, you know, exactly to what the Vikings would have done way back when. And I guess this might be the rudder right here. They don't want to put the rudder down in the water or leave it down there for any length of time. But that is very cool. Can you imagine being in this boat and being out in the middle of the ocean somewhere and a big storm coming up? I mean, it's wide ass open. It's wide open, you know. There's the only place where you got any protection from the elements. So, man, what a piece of work. I guess there might be an engine in there because they got that thing there and they got a port right there. That's probably an exhaust port or something like that for a motor. But still, this is pretty damn cool. Viking ship here at the museum. So we'll go on to the next one. All right, we're here at the Mystic Museum, Seaboard Museum, Seaport Museum, and this is another exhibition here. They've got the Viking paraphernalia. So this is a helmet. This is a reproduction that would have been done, of what somebody would have worn as a warrior in the Viking times. And then in here we've got the exhibition, so we're going to go in there and check this out. But isn't that cool? I mean, here's the helmet right here as they dug it up, and then here's the reproduction right here. So that's really cool. All right, I'm going to whisper because I'm in this room and there's other people here and I don't want to disturb them. I don't have a whole lot of time, but here's some examples of some jewelry that the Vikings would have used. These are glass beads and some other stones and stuff like that they thought were nice. And the glass beads, they would have gotten that from the Mediterranean. So in order to get those from the Mediterranean, they had to trade. So they had to go a long way to go to get those glass beads and trade with them. They were very expensive. Here's an example of some of the construction from a Viking boat, or this is part of a grave boat. That some dude was buried in his boat, and this is part of the boat left over. That's pretty cool. And they use the sail an awful lot. Here's an example of one of the little skiffs that they would use to get around in. That's pretty cool. That's kind of similar to what we would have had, you know, like in the South, like in the swamps and everything. A little shallow boat, you know, you can go just about anywhere with that. Here's some of the boat decorations right here. They're made of iron, and they were kind of rusting right now, but you know, these are period correct. That's all the real deal right there. And then here we go. Here's what everybody wants to see. Everyone wants to see these there's a broadsword right there, and look at the ornamentation there at the top. That is badass. Look at that. It's even got little jewels up there, little rubies or something like that. That's badass right there. And then here's the helmet. Here's the original helmet that they used to make that replica of. That's a warrior helmet right there. And here's one of their shields right here. That's a pretty big shield. I mean, that'd protect you. That looks like it's made of all in one piece of wood too. That was a big piece of wood. And then here's another helmet right here, and I don't know what that is. That's body armor right there. Would have protected your arms from somebody else trying to whack off your arm. But that's the helmet right there. They said that women also fought in the Vikings. I didn't know that that was really true or not, because you see it on the Vikings TV show, but apparently they did. Here's some other stuff. Head stave. I don't know what that is. But yeah, here's some more ornamentation right here. And there's something about the mythology of war. The dude on the top there looks pretty wicked. He's not a normal dude. He's like a warrior god or something like that. And then here's some of the stuff that they would have traded for. They would have traded for this glass. They didn't make this glass. This would have come from the Mediterranean, because the Mediterranean knew how to make glass. And then they would use this right here to measure gold and money, the scales. And then this is a piece right here that would have gone around the neck right there for like a cape or something like that. And this thing here says that a woman traveled a Viking woman traveled both to North America and to the Pope in Rome. So they got around. I mean, they were people moving around. They got after it. Hey guys, we're still here at this Maritime Museum, and the Mayflower 2 is an actual boat, just the same scale and everything as the original Mayflower. And they're rebuilding this boat inside this hangar right here. It's going to cost about $6 million to do it, and everything in the boat has to be handmade. So I don't know if I can get in or not. Can I get in? Can I get in there? That's a tour guide girl. I'm trying to get in. So we'll see if we can get in. I don't know if I can or not. Okay, I cannot get in apparently. But here's the boat itself, and they're working on it. So you can see they're redoing the planking right there. And they rebuilt all of this, all these ribs right here, and they're going to put the planking on, and they'll coat it with whatever they coat it with to make it waterproof. And the wood swells anyway. When it gets wet, wood swells, so it'll make it waterproof. But look, all of those beams right there, all those beams are made of oak. Oak. Strong stuff. The USS Constitution was also made of oak way back when. That's why they call it an old Ironsides, because they used this oak that was really tough and thick, and the British tried to put a cannon on it, and they couldn't get through because it's called old Ironsides, not because it had iron, but because it was tough. So this is the Mayflower 2. They're working on it. All right. Where we're leaving the Mystic Seaport Museum, and that was pretty cool. I mean, you got to see some period correct ships and boats and all that stuff, and see how they're made and all that gobbledygook. Got to see a Viking ship, some authentic Viking stuff. The Mayflower 2, which is under construction. That's pretty cool. I don't know if it was worth $30, but you know, it's pretty cool. And it rained half the day away. I didn't get here till like 2 o'clock. So I only had 3 hours or so to, actually I didn't get here till 3 o'clock. 3, 4, 5, about 3 o'clock. So I didn't get to really see it at all until it was late. So, oh well. That was fun. Scott Campbell, I appreciate it, brother, putting me on that, and Emma and K-Nut. Hope you enjoyed the Viking stuff. K-Nut, Newt is of Norwegian descent. He's 100% Norwegian, so that would be cool for him to see. So hope you enjoyed it, brother. And that'll end it for now. I'm gonna go look for a hotel room or something, donk a Dave out.